Well, hello beautiful people. It is about 12:15 a.m. and frankly, I want to wrestle with some hard topics that might be a little controversial, but that's kind of what's been popular on my channel anyways, and it's kind of what I like talking about because I prefer having the hard conversations and being real with you guys and having good discussion and dialogue. But I had it in my head and I was like, law enforcement officers, more particularly, I would even venture to say female law enforcement officers, have a really big impact on their communities. I think they understand maybe better than some guys. I don't even know why I'm up, but I wanted to talk with you guys for a minute because you guys are about cheaper than therapy, frankly, so I guess I'm going to be talking to you instead of trying to find a shrink. Now, what I wanted to talk about was being a first responder. I've kind of dipped my toe into the world with this on and off for about a year now, probably. Not consecutively whatsoever. And I kind of wanted to talk about what I wish I knew. And frankly, I want to wrestle with some hard topics that might be a little controversial, but that's kind of what's been popular on my channel anyways, and it's kind of what I like talking about. Because I prefer having the hard conversations and being real with you guys and having good discussion and dialogue rather than trying to be phony and tiptoe around everything and be PC. Now, what I want to talk about is something I've discussed in the past and I got really cooked for in my why aren't there SWAT members or why aren't there female SWAT members in the game, Ready or Not? And that was kind of my aspirations to be a cop. Now, I started EMT school, I go through it. It's difficult, but I love it. You know, it's a blast. And I'm learning all these new things and I'm applying all these different things and things that I've learned in the past. And, you know, I started to realize that the schooling portion of it, more specifically the testing portion of it, is going to be a pain in my ass because I've never tested well, period, with school in my life, right? Honestly, I'm in a new environment. I've lived in rural places, but this is probably the most rural I've lived in to date, and I'm kind of just getting acquainted with my surroundings and naturally just having been here for a couple of years, maybe 3 at most. And, you know, I'm getting settled in, and it's okay. I have made friends. I'm doing well as far as performing the different skills. But, you know, struggling with testing. I somehow managed to pass the class. At this point, I've been riding on the ambulance for a while. And I kind of just I get into a routine of people using us either as a glorified taxi. You know what I mean? Where I think people don't actually have the problems that they're thinking they're having, or, you know, it kind of being grandma and grandpa and it's slow moving, you know what I mean? Not to say that, hey, I love treating the elderly because they tend to appreciate what you do a little bit more, and tend to be, I mean, depending upon who you get, sometimes they can be a little bit more combative. I was probably the most time I've gotten puked on in my life, but yeah, you know, I love what I do because I appreciated the service that I was providing to my community. But, you know, the stress of it all, I couldn't get used to having to go and deal with the anxiety of tones dropping and knowing I was going to somebody's emergency and not really knowing what I was going to. At the time, I didn't have the wherewithal to zoom out and see that whatever I was going to probably wasn't going to be the worst thing in the world. And the main thing that made me quit was I had colleagues who didn't like me. I had colleagues that hated my fucking existence, didn't want me to be there, was trying to figure out why the fuck I couldn't take a blood pressure. And honestly, I just felt like the world's biggest idiot, and I felt like if I don't get my shit together, I'm gonna hurt somebody, is what I had told myself, and that was not the case whatsoever. Do not ever, ever, ever in your life get to a place where you tell yourself you can't do something you really want to do. Don't self-destruct and just keep yourself from trying to chase your dreams. But anyways, yeah, I kind of just like convinced myself that this isn't gonna work out, and really it's probably more so being new than anything. I take a step back you know what? Mom's like, you should look into dispatching. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe. It's like, and I go and I sit in. And I was on a calm shift and I didn't realize it, or I got lucky. And I was like, this seems manageable. I think I could do this. And, you know, I went in and I interviewed, and the interview went well, and they hired me. And don't get me wrong, I get that same fulfillment when I take a call and I reassure some old lady that everything is going to be okay and help is actually getting to her. But it's the times when I'm getting yelled at and cussed at and getting told, you know, why are you asking me all these fucking questions? You know, that I go, am I really necessary? Because we have automated paging, by and large, for fire departments now. How long before police dispatching is automated? How necessary am I really? You know what I mean? And this is kind of the stuff that I want you to think about if you're considering getting into this field, into this profession. You're gonna have moments where self-doubt is going to start to creep in. Maybe you'll take a bunch of bad calls or what have you, but that's not even going to be the worst of it. It's going to be just generally feeling like everything I have done today has not really amounted to much. Or you might have days where you kind of just feel like, what's the point? What am I really doing? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of times and situations where you kind of are just facilitating information if you're on the dispatch end, and you're just kind of, you know, not really doing anything, or you don't feel like you're doing anything, but you're doing a lot. You just don't realize it because it's so meat and potatoes for you after a certain point. It just feels like another day at the office, but what you're doing matters. But I think the one thing that law enforcement has, where you might not get in a dedicated dispatching office environment, is in law enforcement there is this deep sense of, and maybe it's too forced and too Hollywood, but there's this deep sense of brotherhood, sisterhood. You know, there's the sense to puff you up and kind of be like, you're a fucking badass. What you're doing, you know, is like, you are just really kicking it and you're out there saving lives, you know. But on our end of things, there's going to be times where you kind of just feel like, you know what, I fucked that up. And they still figured it out without me knowing what I was doing. And it's kind of like you're just going to sit back here and be like, how necessary to this equation really was I? You know? And I just hope that you talk with other people. And this doesn't even have to be you as a first responder if you're not a first responder. Talk with people in your life if you feel like work is weighing a lot on you. Because here's what I really want to impart. And this could be a whole separate video. What I want to impart in my rambling is your work has to be something that you are either comfortable pimping yourself out for money over, as botched as that is to say, or it has to be something that you believe in, lock, stock, and barrel. And you have to have some sort of an emotional connection with it. You have to get some sort of fulfillment out of it. Because if you can't find some way to make yourself feel like it, it's going to be harder for you to pry yourself out of bed to put your pants on in the morning. So remember and try your hardest to be doing the things that you love, to do the things that matter to you, and try to actually effectuate some change in an area that isn't, like I said, is meaningful to you. Now, I wanted to talk about what I said in the beginning of, my aspirations to be a state trooper and how that was kind of floating around in my head. And a lot of people's response to this, or at least I remember one response was, when I said, I don't feel comfortable as a black person being a cop right now in America, especially with all these different states trying to go back and forth on the issue of deportation and all of that. And just generally, I have forever said it doesn't matter which side of the equation you're on, whether you're black, yellow, white, or brown, cops have the worst job imaginable. Because no matter what they do, whether they're good, bad, right, or wrong, everybody hates them because it's American culture to not like being told what to do. So most people buck at the authority that cops represent, and cops have taken on this whole folklore and zeitgeist of being something outside of or other than human almost to a degree, where they're just a walking representation of an idea more so than a person, that it's a shit job. It truly is a crappy job to have to deal with. But you get more of that tangible, and I don't know. This was idealistic, optimistic me, fresh out of, or just starting community college. But I had it in my head and I was like, law enforcement officers, more particularly, I would even venture to say female law enforcement officers, have a really big impact on their communities. And I think just as a positive force of change, I think they understand maybe better than some guys. And this is a hot take. I have nothing to back this up, baby. So if you don't like it, you're gonna have to deal with it. It's purely my opinion. I do not have facts to back that up. I am very much so Hermit Cain in the situation, peace be upon him. But it's really just one of those things where I think there's truly that emotional awareness. Because guys, let's be real for a second here. Society wants you to bottle everything up and, chuck it in a window, put it in a box. I tried to have a hard conversation about everything I just talked about wondering whether or not my job was even necessary with a close friend. You know what he said to me? He asked me, "Are you good?" In just that tone. I mean, I know it was over text, but I could just read that and hear that tone of, "Are you good? Are you okay?" Like, not like, "Hey, I hear you're struggling. Are you doing all right?" Like, no. Like, what the Sam Hill is wrong with you that you're, just vomiting your feelings and, are you going to go off the deep end? Guys are expected to bottle their stuff up, and guys kind of expect that of women and men, just because it's what society has told them to do. It's not their fault. It's of no fault of their own that they think of this way. But anyways, what was I even talking about? But yeah, it is genuinely my opinion that female cops have a bigger impact on their communities and are more versatile in dealing with the weird, kind of mushy in-between stuff that just generally cops get thrust upon, just kind of like I get thrust upon calls from, different people about the most absurd of shit, and I'm like, I don't know how to fix your problems. Do you need police, EMS, or fire? Because if not, I don't really know what to do for you. It's like the social, civil issues. Like, female cops are very good at dealing with a lot of these situations. At least in my mind, in my opinion. I don't have a lot of experience. It's just kind of something that I've noticed personally. They're better on the community outreach end of things. And I'm not saying that women can't kick some ass and kick some doors in. That's completely true, too. There are women in the military, and that was the whole reason that pissed me off about that whole video. But that's bygones that we will let be bygones. But my point right now, right here, is the state police and traffic units and things like that do so much to combat, unsafe driving and different things that kind of could honestly get people killed. It's one of the things that I notice every time I'm out is people drive like fucking dicks, especially in more urban areas. Or there's people who just are oblivious. They aren't aware. Making drivers more safe is something that actually has a genuine impact on my community directly, and it's a positive impact. So it was something that I wanted to be involved with. But there's a flip side of the coin that deals with the systemic side of things of, are you going to have a ticket quota? Do you have to enforce in areas like, because the system, eventually, you're going to have to deal with the machine. There's only one thing politically, racially, that we agree on in this country right now, and that's everybody is kind of raging against the machine, and everybody believes the system is rigged. They just believe different things about who it's rigged towards. Some people on one side believe it's rigged against the rich, and some on the other side believe it's rigged against the poor. But we all believe that this is some BS, and that the government is working against us, no matter how we classify the quote-unquote us. But I say all of that to say that there are areas where it might be, it's like, hey, we need you to crack down in this area. It's like, why? Well, because more crime happens over here. Well, more crime happens over here because people don't have a way to get out of here. It's the hood, and people are poor, because they're trapped in the hood. So, me giving out more tickets isn't going to actually help anybody, but it's dealing with the people who are actually problematic. You know what I mean? The drunk drivers, the different people who just go out on a Friday night and they're racing their friends, and it's just not necessary. I nearly got killed trying to get to the hospital the night my grandmother died because I nearly got hit by a driver who was racing his buddy. These are tangible things within our communities, but because our world is broken and things are the way that they are, what are we going to do? It makes the profession a lot less glamorous. It makes you worry. It's like, am I going to still be a human being, or am I going to be this color? Am I going to be blue? Am I not going to be black, white, brown, yellow? Am I going to be blue? And that's just something I'm not cool with. And I will say this much. Every time I get told that by different people that, you help make my day better, or you are, actually doing something that has helped me in a specific way, it's helped me get through a tough time. I've always thought that if I ever were going to hear those words in my life, it would be because of music. Maybe it's because of what I create on here is art, and I'm trying to loosen myself up to actually make more art on here. So I'm going to try and make some stories, and, I want to love myself. I want to give myself enough wiggle room to just get on and do what I love and talk about what I want and not really worry about who it's going to piss off or the algorithm. And I think that's a good note to end everything on. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, because for whatever I do for you, you do unto me immensely. You guys just fill my heart. You keep me sane. You keep me going. And honestly, the more I continue to do this, the more I'm considering maybe I should be in ministry work. Maybe I should be in politics. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure it out. If you're of the mindset, keep me in prayer. If that's not your thing, that's completely cool. But I'm trying to figure out where I fit in this world. And frankly, I don't even know if I want to get involved in ministry because, I'm still human. I still drink. I like to have fun. I can be raunchy. Nobody wants a raunchy pastor. That's just weird. So, I'm trying to live out my life in a way that's considerate, kind, patient, gentle, balanced, self-controlled, that just lives that out in the lives of the people around me. And I hope that it shows in the content I create and what I do. And I hope I inspire you to do something good yourself in your own community. I love you guys. Continue to do what you're going to do. Game on, or whatever you do, and I'll see you. Goodbye.